I'm David.
I'm Hailey, and we are talking about how a new technology gets introduced or implemented in the concrete industry.
Yep.
So I'm going to go from the perspective of an EIT, so a new engineer, and David's going to come from the perspective to correct me,
I'm gonna be the old fogey.
the seasoned wise engineer.
Yeah, the old fogey, the non-believer.
No. Some people are though.
Yeah,
So.
true.
So in my head, when I think about, let's say, a new admixture coming to market or coming to be implemented, I think of a salesman, like John always says, taking them out to a nice lunch, telling them all the good things that the admixture can do for them, and I imagine there's lots of testing that goes on before they can do that.
Absolutely. No data, no use.
Okay.
That's pretty clear.
Cool. And then I don't really know what happens after that.
Yeah. Well, there's pretty much two options, and the first one is probably the most common, and that is when the marketer, the person who wants to sell the product, comes in and they've got a 4 to 6 page data sheet.
Okay.
And say, when I was at reclamation, we'd want to see certain things. We'd want to see strength, compressive strength. It'd be really good if they had underwater abrasion
Okay.
for spillways and stilling basins and things like that. And it would be nice if they had some form of fresh property data. I mean, the contractors are a little uneasy about how easy it's going to be to place this stuff, if it's self-consolidating or self-leveling or exactly how it's going to be. So that's one option, and so in the feds, in the government in general, you don't go out to lunch.
Yeah. Not allowed to, right?
That's absolutely restricted. In the first part of my career, we could not accept anything.
Wow.
We couldn't have a pen on our desk, a
Wow.
hat, nothing.
That's crazy.
Unless it was, and so that was in the beginning, that's the way it was. And then it changed to, if it was readily available to the general public in the same forum, then you could accept something.
Okay.
So if you had a convention and they had pens in a cup,
Sure.
you could take a pen out of the cup,
Wow.
something like that. And then finally, as I was leaving the government, it changed to you could accept items less than $20.
Okay. Cool.
So maybe you get a cup of coffee or something like that. And there's a lot of good conversations across the corner of the table. So that's one option.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wise seller brings you a specification to put into your specification.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is plug it in, and they're ready to go. But of course, in the government, there's fair and equal. So
Well said.
So there has to be competition between products and whatnot. Sole source is just a bad thing. So the other way is they may have all of that. They may offer either a sample or a demonstration. And for the government, that's very common.
Okay.
Very common. So if you have a big lab, like at the Bureau, we had one of the biggest concrete labs in the world.
Yeah.
We could take a sample and test it, or maybe go out in the field and try it as a demonstration.
Okay.
Or if the manufacturer was hosting a demonstration of some kind, which is common. You go to their site and they'll pour a slab or
Sure.
do something. That's common, to go to a demonstration and see how it works and whatnot. So there's that. That's all good data. There's still a decision to be made. Are you going to put it into a dam that's supposed to last 100 years based on one
You don't know yet.
one demonstration? You're not sure yet. So when I moved to the consulting side, and people would raise that question, like, hey, I'm not going to put this in the bottom of this water tank. It's just whatever. And so we would recommend, as the consultant, that first time they put it someplace they could get back to it easily. Put it in a canal bottom or a sidewalk or a driveway, the lid of a tank. Put it someplace they could get back to it easily if they had to. And then over time, they gain some confidence with it.
Cool.
So I see it as kind of a crawl, walk, run problem.
Yep.
You start slow.
Mm-hmm.
You have some experience, and then once you love it,
Use it.
you use it.
I think that makes the most sense, not necessarily for the admixture company or the salesperson. It would be frustrating, but for the general public, it's the safest thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of different parts to the industry, and so a highway 75 years, a dam 100 plus years. The government usually has very large civil works projects, and they generally are supposed to last a very long time. So they're a little bit harder nut to crack. If you're talking to a contractor that's pouring driveways, A, they're easy to get to,
Yeah.
B, their life cycles, you know,
Not too.
not that long. I mean, that's no disrespect to the contractor.
Of course.
I mean, you expect a driveway to last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Between the salt dripping off your car and various things. So I think the strategy has to be a little different for each group of people.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that would be my advice. And you've heard this story before, you've heard the paint story before, that
Probably.
that last summer I had to paint the corrals at our barn, and so I went to the paint store, and what do you think? Did I buy the cheapest possible paint that they had?
No.
No, because it's a lot of trouble to paint those corrals. So if you can be convinced that it's going to, and concrete's the same way,
Sure.
I think the general public is very knowledgeable about spending money to get things and spending money for things that are going to last. I think almost all, well, for most things we buy, a car, major purchases, a car or various things, we're willing to pay a little more for it to last a little longer. So that's the other approach. If you can use a test, a durability test, or some form of time-based test
Okay.
to convince people it'll last longer, then that's a good strategy too. So stronger, longer.
Yeah.
You know,
Stronger and lasts longer.
stronger lasts longer. If you can get solid data, then you know a reasonable person should be willing to try it.
Yeah.
We run into people that here that it's not in the spec that they are currently using and have been using for a very long time. They just want to use it, and it's hard to convince those people.
Yeah. I'm all for new and emerging technologies and hearing them out, but did you ever have people who didn't have the data to back up their product?
Not on the government side.
That's good.
Yeah, they just knew they were wasting their time.
Yeah, that's true.
They just knew that it wasn't worth the gas to drive there.
Valid. That makes sense.
You know, they just, you know, salespeople are very good at what they do. They're very smart at what they do. They're very good at understanding. Most good salespeople will walk in knowing what I did, knowing what I need, knowing what my pressures and constraints are, and they'll come in and talk directly to that.
Okay.
Most salespeople are very, very knowledgeable about your problem and
Sure.
what you need. So most salespeople are really smart people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't know if you ever were like, that just doesn't add up, or
No.
no, that's awesome.
It's rare that I've had that experience, to be honest with you. The day of the guy selling the elixir off the back of the wagon, that day is gone.
So that's great to know for others in the industry that might have a hard time accepting these new technologies that most of the time, these people know what they're talking about.
I'd say, yeah, in my experience in general, that's true. They know way more about their product than I do,
Sure.
of course, and they know a lot about what I know about my problems. So they're like 1.5, 1 to 2/3 compared to me, because I know what I need, but I don't know their product.
Yeah.
So it's wise to listen to salespeople. You know, they've got a lot of good information, and even if they don't sell you their product, they're going to teach you something.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So you know, they're interesting people. They have
I'm sure.
a very difficult and interesting job. It's not a job I would be good at.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I have never really interacted with salespeople other than like the retail jobs that I had. But
Yeah, the good salespeople are good teachers. They're have in-depth knowledge. generally know their product backwards and forwards,
Yeah.
inside and out, chemically, physically, they really know their products. So, like I say, even if you don't wind up buying their product, most
can learn.
times it's worth 15 minutes,
Yeah.
20 minutes to learn something.
Wow. Well, thanks, David.
Yeah, you bet.
Moral of the story: listen to salespeople, and it made me toy around with the idea of implementing new technologies, because you never know which one's gonna change the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good technologies out there. As we lose technologies we're used to, we're destined, and we have to use new technology.
Yep.
So we just have to grit our teeth. I mean, none of us use rotary phones.
Exactly.
We all are willing to adapt to that. We all use computers. We're willing to adapt to that. And a knowledgeable person should be able to sort through data and decide if it's good for them and use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ding that bell for notifications. Go Concrete!
And beat asphalt.